Cool. So, big news right now is I have a GUI working. Kind of. Nothing's hooked up. But we'll get there later. So, let's, for one thing, one problem with this is that if I rerun, these hello worlds keep stacking. So it shouldn't do that. Also, there's other things. This window's too small and stuff. I did this like just a little while ago. But, so when I get here, an interactive embed gets run again after I rerun. I need a way to know that I don't need to rerun any of the PyGUI stuff. I'm actually sort of surprised that I don't need to stop from rerunning the keyboard thread. It seems like that would be a problem. Or maybe that gets stopped somewhere else. I should actually check that. Let's see where that gets caught, I guess. Because I'll raise this rerun exception. Gonna clear the screen, but it just returns true. I guess that's fine. So I would think that would mean it would rerun the keyboard thread too. I don't know, I guess if it doesn't work. Is it like commands? Render commands, I think this is where it gets caught. Or not, since this isn't accessed. Oh, it just returns true. So it's like here, this is the loop it's going into. And then if it returns true, it just... yeah, never closes the keyboard thread, I guess. Oh well, but here I'm going to try to hook into a way to see if PyGUI is running. And I don't know how any of these functions work. So here's hoping. Should be in this .core. Is Dear PyGUI running? Okay, hopefully this way it'll only do this if it won't like reprint this hello world. Right, but I think I have to quit this either way. Okay. So run that again. And it didn't show up at all this time. So that's a problem. Oh, this is if it's not running. Then I should start it. If it is running, then I won't do anything. Okay. And now let me try rerunning this. Great, and so I don't get the hello world reappearing here, so that's great. So from here, really what I should be doing is just figuring out how to use this API, because I don't know anything about it. I think a useful thing to do would be to be able to select which scene I want to run. So I guess that would require a drop down, right? Or I could, an even easier thing would be to just have a rerun button. So I have this save button, and it just, or I could, an even easier thing would be to just have a rerun button. So I have this save button, and it just prints this. So I'm gonna try to hook that to rerunning. So I'll call this rerun. And I'll call this rerun callback. And it's actually not even clear what I want this to do. I guess what I'd have to do is push onto the shared queue. Something like this. And I'll just print that I reran here. I'll just have to put this on the shared queue, and I think that's all, actually. I should put GUI there. And args is empty, KWArgs is empty. And I should run through what I expect that to do. And so that'll be picked up here. I'll do starts with rerun. Doesn't. It will not end with eKeyboard, so the keyboard thread will get stopped, which is good, and joined. And that's it. Okay, seems legit. I think I'll have to stop this. So I just quit this. Oh. My keyboard disconnected for a second there. Oh, now I have to redo my shortcuts. Hold on. There. Are we back? We're back. Okay, so I'll rerun that. And try... I don't know, I guess it reran. Maybe not, because the camera didn't change. Normally when I rerun from here... Oh, I guess the camera doesn't change there either. Maybe I'd want to edit that and make that actually change. Well, I guess it, okay, here's what I have to do. I have to actually animate something. So let me just get a square here. Play. Okay, so you see the square get drawn, and I'll try rerunning. And it's not happening, so that's a problem. So why did that happen? Self.q.put. Do we guess that have worked? It's definitely getting pushed there. I wonder what sender and data is. So what I'll check here is I'm gonna... From here, I'm gonna print the tuple anytime it pulls something off the queue. Let's see if that helps. Okay, it played an animation this time. Okay, it worked now. I don't know what happened before. Oh, it only worked the first time. It'll still work from the keyboard. Only works on the GUI the first time. And that might actually make sense. Is there a redraw command? My keyboard gets all messed up. I think what's happening here is, and that might actually make sense. Is there a redraw command? My keyboard gets all messed up. I think what's happening here is this still has a reference to the previous scene, not the current one. And so I'll have to pass it the current queue. And how would I do that? Where's the GUI thread? Args here, I have to pass self.q. I think that's all. Just have q here. And here use the variable q. Let's see how this works. Something went wrong. Argument after star must be an iterable, not q. What? Interactive embed locals PyGUI argument after star. Since taking a shell in a namespace. Oh, does this have to... it might be in order to make this a tuple. You need a comma here, I think. Okay, it didn't complain that time. That worked. Doing it further times still doesn't work. Darn. So why would that happen? Oh, this is only run one time. I need to update its queue each time. So I'll basically have to update what it's using for this, the queue it's using for this closure. That could be tricky, actually. Since I can pass it the queue the first time, but then what can I do in the times after that? Maybe there's a way this can return a reference from something? Although I don't see how that would work either. Man. I got confused by this so soon. Maybe if the queue wasn't owned by the scene, if it was owned by the renderer or something, that might help. Since the renderer is never destroyed. Or subsequent scenes could share the same queue. I think I'll try to store it in something higher than the scene. So the scene is here. Maybe what I want to do is instantiate a queue out here. So now it's just owned by nothing. I guess the main, not thread, but just the program. And then if I pass this, if I create one here and pass it to the scenes here, then that should work. But do I not want to have it owned by the renderer? Oh, but the render... Oh no, it's using the same renderer the entire time. I'm gonna try putting this in the renderer. We can see how that'll work. Okay, so now the render will have this queue. And it'll initialize it on startup, just like the scene. So like this. Then I'm gonna try to pass, I'm gonna replace everything where the scenes queue is used with the renders queue. I think that should only happen in interactive embed. So then I'll do self.render.queue everywhere. Here, this will hopefully work with self.render.queue. This will be self.render.queue. The PyGUI function won't have to take an argument. This from the renderer, this from the renderer, this from the renderer. That might be everything I need. And then remove this. I'm sure there's something I missed. Take that out. Should be self dot. I think this is fine since this class is separate from the scene. All right, let's try that. OpenGL render object has no attribute Q, so that's great. And by great, I mean that's not great. Seems like when interactive embed was called, the GL renderer didn't have a queue. Oh, that was the camera I put it in. You have to put that here. Okay, so that seemed to work. And there's a few things to try. Well, for one thing, I'll try. Okay, so that worked. Re-clicking that still didn't work. That's disappointing. Let's see if I change the color of one of these planes. Oh. Man, my screen. Okay, I broke more stuff than was broken before, so. Yeah, okay. So something went wrong with that. I'm not sure what, though. Don't think I need this file. What could have gone wrong with the queue? If I look into interact, it's continually pulling values off of the renderer queue. It seems like it should be right. There it updated. So let's see what should happen if I put rerun on the keyboard. It should do the same logic. It won't join the keyboard thread, and it'll raise that exception. Then when that happens, what was it, status? You would create a new scene with the same renderer and then call render with that one. So I think that would be safe. Once when I run the rerun function, it works the... So I think that would be safe. Once when I run the rerun function, it works the first time. It doesn't work the second time. And why would it crash? It's the first time. Okay, well, that doesn't work. It might have to do with the fact that data can't be shared between threads, possibly. But in any case, I think that's too much effort for trying to move the queue out of the scene. So let's put it back in the scene. So undo all of these, pass the queue here. I think this is where I was. Are you going to type queue unknown? Oh, and then I'll... Yes, I think it's where I was. This is where it would work the first time. The second time, it wouldn't work. However, from the keyboard, it'll work however many times. And the mouse interaction works. And I think it'll work from the file as well. So I switch this back to zeros. Oh, whoops. This back to zeros. Then it goes back to red. Alright, the million-dollar question is still, how can I share the queue between calls to this dear PyGUI? Maybe if this... Actually, I don't know if this is even doable. Because this is going to be bound to this queue. And then that scene is going to be just thrown out. There'll be almost no references to it when I create the new scene. I wonder if I can pass the queue, pass the old queue to the new scene. It's like if status, I'll say shared queue or previous queue or something. This will be initially none. Equals scene.queue. I'll try to pull it from there. Then when I instantiate this, I'll try to pass in the previous queue. Yeah, try to pass in the previous one. So then here, the scene is going to need a queue argument. Yeah, queue. Really, this should just be... You should explicitly have the render keyword. Okay, and then if queue is none, that's when this, otherwise, equals the queue that's passed. Okay, so now they should be sharing queues. So let's try this again. Try running from here. And a second time. Still no good. Why would this happen? And if I actually broke it from the keyboard, the other threads as well. Yeah, yeah. Okay. In this case, I'm going to not try to do a rerun command. Okay. In this case, I'm going to not try to do a rerun command from the GUI right now. So I'll undo that and that. Since that ends up being harder than I thought. What would a 2 do for that? In the meantime, let me remove that weight. Or that draw. Just too slow. Okay. Something that would be useful to have is a drop-down menu. So I could choose the name of the scene that I want to use. So let me try doing that. Although even that, if I were to change the file, I'll have to change the GUI that I run. So I think no matter what, I'm probably going to have to find a way to update this on each frame. Let me try this. I'll run the GUI thread every time. Now I'll see, is this still hooked up? I guess that worked. It still only works the first time. Oh, that works from the keyboard. But it has these extra hello worlds, which I don't want. Man. Although I don't really need the text. If it came to it, I could just only execute the text parts if it isn't already running. So maybe I can do this. If it's not already running, then I'll run the text, add the text. So let me try that. Yeah, actually this is going to be a problem no matter what. Communicating from PyGUI to the scene if it can't communicate with the queue. Since that's the only way it can. Man. That could be tough. Wasn't expecting to find something hard to solve this early. But let me rerun this. Okay, so it's not reprinting the hello world string. Still won't work from the GUI, but that was expected. Now I'm thinking of... Well, lifting the queue into the renderer didn't work. Even though it was the same renderer. It was the same queue since they're being shared. Why would that happen? Since that scene was destroyed, when I continued, I created a new scene classes, created a new scene with the same renderer, but it couldn't read from that renderer for some reason. And in fact, that just crashed it. Although, unfortunately, my guess is that that isn't something that can be solved in a straightforward way. It probably just has to do with the fact that communication between